Imagine this. A huge company, one you probably know, suddenly admits its financials were way off, maybe even fraud. Billions vanish, trust just evaporates, and everyone's asking how? Who's supposed to be watching? And, crucially, how do we make sure the auditors, the guardians of financial truth, actually do their job consistently? Well, today on the Deep Dive, that's exactly what we're doing. We're getting into the unseen structures that build trust in audits. Specifically, the international standards on quality management, our mission to really understand how audit firms are changing things up to hit the highest quality, stop those disasters, and rebuild public confidence. We're looking at the what, the why, and definitely the how of these standards.
And the really big thing about these standards, ISQM 1, ISQM 2, and ISO 220 revised, which we're drawing on today, is a philosophical shift. It's huge. We're moving audit quality away from being sort of reactive, check the box after something went wrong. Now it's about being proactive, building a quality culture deep inside the firms, quality built in, not just inspected later.
That does sound like a major shift, a systemic change almost. So let's unpack that. Why is quality management so critical for audits? What's really at stake?
Well, fundamentally, the whole point of an audit is public trust in financial information. That's it. For an audit report to mean anything, for the audit to work, firms and their people just have to meet their legal and professional duties. Without that basic integrity, the whole system, well, it just doesn't work.
Right. And where are the weak spots? What kind of pressures or maybe oversights can undermine an auditor's report?
Oh, there are several key threats. A big one is self-interest. Growing financial pressure on partners, it can subtly influence judgment. Then you get things like, just poor planning, not enough foresight, or maybe inadequate risk assessment, failing to spot potential problems early on. And sometimes it's really practical. Just not enough resources, not enough skilled people, or not enough evidence gathered. Any of these can really derail things.
Okay, so who's actually behind these new standards? Who's trying to get ahead of these problems?
That would be the IAASB, the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board. They're the independent global body setting these vital quality standards, always working to strengthen auditing around the world.
And what's the philosophy driving them? What are the core principles here?
The number one goal is definitely public interest. It's all geared towards preventing the kind of situations that lead to audit failures. And cornerstone is professional skepticism. This is huge. It means partners and teams must keep an independent, questioning mind. They have to challenge client judgments, especially the tricky ones, not just nod them through.
So really questioning things, not just accepting them. What does that demand from the auditors themselves?
Exactly. And to do that effectively, teams need two things. Competence, obviously, but also support. They need the skills, but also the backing from their firm to challenge clients without worrying about, commercial fallout. Which leads to another key idea. Being proactive. This is about moving way past just ticking boxes. These standards demand a forward-looking, integrated quality approach. It needs to be part of the firm's DNA.
That cultural shift again. And I'm guessing these aren't just rules for the giant global firms. How do they work for smaller practices?
That's a really important point. Scalability and adaptability are baked in. They're designed for everyone, from tiny local firms to massive networks. And they have to be flexible enough to evolve with technology and changing business, which happens fast. Finally, there's a much bigger emphasis now on monitoring and communication, better internal checks, and better reporting outwards to regulators and TCWG, those charged with governance.
Okay, that really sets the scene. Let's dive into the first standard, ISQM 1. This creates the firm's system of quality management, the SoQM. What's the main idea?
Right. ISQM 1 basically says every firm has to design and implement its own system. It's principle-based, not a rigid template. It has to fit their specific situation, the clients, their services. The beauty is the flexibility. A small firm's SoQM will look different from a huge multinational's, but both need a solid system.
And this SoQM has 8 key parts. Let's start with the first, the firm's risk assessment process. What's involved there?
This is really fundamental. It's about setting up a process to define quality goals and spot quality risks proactively. And it's not a one-off thing. It's ongoing. It adapts. Customization is key. It looks at the firm's unique tech, its network links, any outside service providers. The real goal is to focus risk mitigation where it's needed most for that firm, ensuring the right audit report gets issued.
So always looking ahead, tailoring the defenses. How does this second part, governance and leadership, connect to that?
This is the tone at the top. Creating a culture where quality is clearly number one, right across the firm, the CEO or managing partner. They're ultimately on the hook for the whole SoQM. And crucially, incentives need to line up. Policies should reward quality commitment, not just keeping clients happy or making profit on the job. This empowers partners to challenge clients without fear, making sure everyone feels supported to prioritize quality.
That sounds like it could force some difficult conversations internally. What about ethics? Component number 3.
Absolutely critical. The SoQM has to ensure everyone follows ethical rules. And that often means going beyond the baseline, like the ISBA code, the global standards. A firm might have its own stricter rules, maybe about gifts, for instance. It also ensures everyone's on the same page, internal teams, component auditors in a group audit. Everyone understands and applies the rules. And ethics scales, too. Bigger firms need more complex systems for, say, spotting conflicts of interest.
Makes sense. Ethics woven right in. How about picking clients? Component 4. Acceptance and continuance.
Yeah, this standard really ramps up the scrutiny here. You need strong procedures to check out a client's integrity, their values, and, critically, can the firm actually do the job well? It makes it explicit. Money or operational pressure should never lead to taking on or keeping a client inappropriately. The focus must be on the firm's ability to deliver a quality engagement. Plus, you can't just accept a client and forget it. Existing relationships need a fresh look every year. New ID checks, independence checks, reassessing conflicts or competence. You have to ask. If we knew then what we know now, say, about a big regulatory fine the client got, would we still have taken them on?
So, no complacency. How does this filter down to the actual audit work? Component 5. Engagement performance.
Right. This ensures everyone on the audit team knows their role in delivering quality. Less experienced staff need proper supervision and review. The engagement partner has to be sufficiently involved, really digging in, especially in risky areas. And crucially, the system must make sure teams consistently use professional skepticism and judgment. This directly tackles risks like not enough time, or junior staff handling complex areas they aren't ready for. And importantly, there have to be clear ways for teams to consult on tough issues, handle disagreements, and sort out anything flagged by the engagement quality reviewer.
Which leads nicely to number 6. Resources. Having the right people and tools, right?
Exactly. Firms have to make sure they have the right resources, competent people with the right training and skills available when they're needed. Timeliness is key. And it's not just numbers, it's expertise. More experienced people handle the complex, high judgment stuff. And firms need to think about bringing in independent experts or using specialist tech if they don't have the capability in-house. Quality suffers if the expertise isn't there.
And pulling it all together, number 7. Information and communication.
This one's absolutely vital. Without it, the whole SoQM just falls apart. It's woven through everything else. It covers getting, creating, using, and sharing information. Internally thick policies, training records, independence forms, risk assessments, audit plans, client data, conclusions drawn, and externally reporting to governance bodies, regulators, the firm's network, service providers. And timeliness is crucial, like a team member quickly flagging a potential ethical threat to the firm.
Okay, and the final piece, number 8. Monitoring and remediation. The feedback loop.
That's it, precisely. Firms need an ongoing, robust process to check if their SoQM is actually working effectively. The aim is to spot any weaknesses quickly and fix them promptly with targeted actions. This continuous cycle is what drives real improvement and keeps the system effective over time.
So ISQM 1 gives us the big picture, the firm-wide system. Now let's zoom in a bit with ISQM 2, the Engagement Quality Review, or EQR. What exactly is an EQR and why does it need its own standard?
Okay, so an EQR is formally defined as an objective evaluation of significant judgments made by the engagement team and the conclusions reached thereon, performed by the engagement quality reviewer, and completed on or before the date of the engagement report. It's definitely not just an informal second partner review. It's a structured, independent challenge. ISQM 2 is all about making these reviews more effective, getting the right reviewer appointed, making their responsibilities crystal clear.
And when do you actually need an EQR? Is it for every audit?
Not every single one, no. But definitely where the stakes or complexities are highest, they're mandatory for listed company audits. Also, specific local laws or regulations require one. And beyond that, the firm itself decides if an EQR is the right way to handle specific quality risks they've identified.
What sort of quality risk might trigger that decision? Can you give some examples?
Sure. Think about really complex audits, say big banks, oil and gas exploration, or audits needing very specialized skills, maybe like greenhouse gas emissions reporting. EQRs are also key if big issues have already cropped up, like a major restatement of last year's figures. Or maybe there were weird circumstances when the client was taken on, like a big fight with the old auditor. Also for things like high judgment regulatory reports, maybe a prospectus for listing shares. Or simply if the firm has zero experience with that client or industry, it's basically an extra independent check when things are unusually tricky or risky.
Right, adding that layer of robust independent oversight. So the reviewer themselves who can do this job, what makes them eligible?
Independence is absolutely number one. The reviewer cannot be part of the engagement team, period. There's even a strict 2-year cooling off period before an engagement partner can review an audit they used to lead. Competence and authority are also vital. Reviewers need to be highly capable, really know the accounting and auditing rules, understand the firm's policies, have industry insight, and crucially, have enough clout in the firm to properly challenge the engagement partner without feeling pressured or influenced.
Yeah, you don't want someone who can be easily pushed around.
Exactly. They have to meet all the ethical rules, follow the law, and be free from intimidation. That could be from an aggressive partner, or maybe even just their reporting line could compromise objectivity. And importantly, the reviewer can be someone internal from the firm, or they can be brought in from outside.
Okay, so what does this EQR reviewer actually do? Is it just a quick read-through at the end?
Oh, definitely not. The reviewer gets involved at different points during the audit, maybe right from planning, not just when it's nearly finished. Their main job is to review and really understand the big judgments the team made. Do the working papers actually back up the conclusions? And, critically, did the team exercise enough professional skepticism all the way through?
Wow, that's really digging into the team's thinking process.
It is. They also look at how the engagement partner handled independence matters and how involved they were overall. They check that proper consultation happened on the tough stuff, and here's a really key step. The reviewer has to do a final stand-back check. They confirm all the EQR steps are done, the review is complete before the audit report can be dated. That report just cannot go out the door without that independent sign-off.
That's a serious control point. And documentation must be crucial here too.
Absolutely. The reviewer is explicitly responsible for documenting the EQR. And that documentation needs to be good enough so that another experienced auditor, someone totally new to the engagement, could look at it and understand what was done, when, how much, and what the reviewer concluded. It creates a clear audit trail.
Okay, so we've got the firm-wide system with ISQM1, the critical independent review with ISQM2.
Yeah.
Now let's bring it right down to the specific job, ISA 220 revised. Quality management for an audit of financial statements. How does this piece fit?
Right, so unlike ISQM 1 and 2, which are firm level, ISA 220 revised zooms right in on quality for one specific audit engagement. It's about how those firm policies actually get put into practice on the ground during a particular audit.
So this is really owned by the engagement team, led by the partner.
Exactly. They're responsible for applying the firm's quality policies. They might even need to design extra procedures just for that specific audit if it's particularly tricky. And they need to feed relevant info back to the firm, which helps the firm's overall quality system. The core idea for the individual audit remains: plan and perform it with professional skepticism and sound judgment. That's how you get a quality audit and the right opinion. This includes actively managing risks like unconscious bias or, just not having enough time or people.
And for that single audit, the partner is ultimately responsible. The buck stops there.
Yes. The engagement partner holds the ultimate responsibility for the quality of that specific audit, making sure it meets all the standards and the final auditor's report is appropriate.
Now, IS 220 revised gets quite specific in a couple of areas, more so than ISQM1. Let's talk about engagement resources first.
Yeah, the engagement partner has the direct responsibility here. They need to make sure the team has enough and the right kind of resources. That means people with the right skills, maybe access to external experts, even using the client's internal auditors appropriately, and getting these resources in a timely way. And it has to be adaptable. If things change during the audit, resources might need to change too. It's not just about headcount. It's about having the right skills for the job.
Can you give us a practical example? Where might this go wrong? Or why is that detail, right people, right time, so important?
Okay, let's picture a scenario. Unfortunately, maybe not that uncommon. Imagine an audit junior, fairly inexperienced, is assigned the audit of property impairments. Now, this is usually a high-risk area, needs a lot of judgment, but maybe their supervisor is off sick, the manager's swamped, so the junior gets tasked with it. What happens? Well, the junior probably doesn't have the deep technical knowledge to really challenge management's complex calculations or assumptions. They might not feel they can easily consult because everyone's busy and there's a clear lack of proper supervision. The result: a much higher risk that not enough, or the wrong kind of audit evidence is gathered, and a material misstatement could just slip through completely undetected. It really shows why just saying we need more staff isn't enough. The specifics of who does what, especially in risky areas, is absolutely vital for quality.
That really paints a picture of how quality can break down at the engagement level. Okay, the second key area in ISO 220 is engagement performance.
Right. Here, the partner's job is directing and supervising the team's work and reviewing it at the right times. For instance, reviewing materiality calculations early on or reassessing risks as the audit progresses. They have to be satisfied that sufficient appropriate evidence has been obtained before signing off on the audit report. The partner also has to make sure the team consults when needed on difficult, contentious issues, whether that's talking within the team, bringing in firm specialists, or even external experts.
So consultation isn't optional, it's required. And how does the partner work with that engagement quality reviewer we talked about?
The partner has to make sure an EQR is appointed if one is needed for that engagement, and they need to ensure the team cooperates fully with the reviewer, discussing all the significant issues. And critically, again, that audit report cannot be dated until the EQR is totally finished and any disagreements between the team and the reviewer have been sorted out. It's a hard stop.
And what if something does go wrong? A quality problem is found. Does it matter when it's discovered?
Oh, absolutely. Timing is everything. If you find a lack of evidence or some other quality issue before the audit report is issued, well, you still have options. You can try to get the missing evidence. Or if the issue can't be resolved, the report might need to be qualified. But if that same problem is only discovered after the report is already out there, relied on by investors and others, well, then it's a whole different ballgame. Qualifying the report isn't an option anymore. The actions needed are often much more complex, potentially costly. It really highlights why being proactive and preventative is so central to these standards.
This has been a really comprehensive look at this whole quality architecture. So bringing it all together, ISQM 1, ISQM 2, ISA 220, revised, how do they work as a package to build trust?
Well, they create this interlocking system, really. It's comprehensive, flexible, scalable. It embeds quality into every single audit. ISQM 1 sets that firm-wide foundation, managing quality at the organizational level. ISQM 2 brings in that tough, independent review for the highest risk jobs. And ISO 20 revised drills down into the day-to-day quality management within each specific audit, guiding the team and the partner. Together, they really shift the responsibility. It's not just on individual partners anymore. It's the whole firm owning quality. So it runs through everything and not just relying on individuals.
And the end game. What does this mean for the public, for the financial system?
Ultimately, it should lead to better, more reliable audits. That means greater accountability for the firms, and that builds a much stronger foundation for public trust in financial reporting. It's about building confidence by preventing problems proactively, not just cleaning up messes after they happen.
So as you, our listeners, think about these really robust standards, consider how this proactive, firm-wide focus on quality might keep evolving. What does this mean for auditing's future, especially with new technology and changing business? How might these standards help build even more confidence, going beyond just stopping past mistakes from happening again?